all they probably do is squeal, but chill. When we start the revolution, when we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal, but chill.
What are the white supremacists doing now? They're doing four basic things: racial showcasing, racial population tailoring, racial dislocation, and white sacrificing. And these four things are designed to produce maximum sophisticated confusion among the victims. And so far it's been somewhat successful worldwide. Now I'll start with the first one. What is racial showcasing? That means taking huge numbers of black people and putting them out front. There's going to be more of this all over the planet. Many millions of black people that you will see who will be rolling in money. They'll be able to showcase the places where they live. They'll be able to showcase their knowledge and expertise. See, you have television now, you have all of the mediums for doing this, for showcasing huge numbers of black people. I will say it will eventually run into the millions, so many that you won't be able to count them. Now, what is this for? This is for any black person that starts talking about racism in the future is going to be laughed at, because they're going to be able to showcase so many black people who are what you call quote-unquote successful, that it will seem that racism has been put out of business. But white supremacy is a world business, and like any other business, it works on profits and losses, which means percentages. You go into business, you expect a certain amount of loss. If you're in the grocery business, well, you might have a load of asparagus that is spoiled. But overall, you will make more profits than you have losses if you're going to stay in the business. Now, so the white supremacists know that the cost of doing the business of white supremacy is going up. They can no longer get away with Joe Louis and Lena Horne like they did years ago. They have to have many more black people who are going to be showcased. I made up this term just to explain it. You have to make up terms, because they won't make them up for you. So now that's the first phase, or one of the first elements in the maximum confusion. And so that black people won't be able to say, they'll say, well, you know, it must be something wrong with me that I'm down and out and don't have a biscuit to eat, because there are so many millions of black people who have so much, so it can't be race. But see, for the 4 or 5 million black people who will be showcased, there will be hundreds of millions worldwide who won't have a biscuit. That's the way the business operates in the future and will be. That's the way it seems to be going according to what? The evidence, according to the logic. The other is racial population tailoring. That's number 2, meaning they're going to be killing huge numbers, either directly or indirectly, of non-white people. When I say black people, I mean, you know, non-white. Anybody who's in the non-white category, and doing this on an ongoing basis. Not to try to kill them all, because when you're in the business of racism, you don't kill off the thing that you need in order to keep racism going. Your ego trip, which is what it's really all about. But you do tailor the population so you can keep them controlled. So you'll kill off a few million in the Congo, then a few years up the road, you'll kill off a few million in Nigeria, and a few years up the road, you'll kill off a few in Mexico, and on and on and on. And you will highly select the places where you do this. You'll have it all computerized, where you kill off huge numbers, or you have them, even better still, kill off each other, like you do in most of the cities in the northwestern part of the world, called the northwestern hemisphere. Having black people gun down each other, you know, non-white people, the brown people gunning down each other, gangs and all that other foolishness, see, and you kill them off, you know, and you just keep this going and you egg it on, and you put things in place that will see to it that it just keeps going that way. It never stops. because that's the mentality of the people. And this is racial population tailoring. In other places where the people are reasonably sane, they don't have a tendency to kill off each other. Then you do things like dry up the water, or poison the rivers, dump toxic waste. It's all kinds of ways to do that racial population tailoring.
Hey, we are the Real HD Show, prime time with a purpose. And we are glad that you could join us on this Monday Madness episode. And backed by popular demand, Brazzy, what's going on?
Hey, backed by popular demand. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cats was missing, you know what I mean? MIA,
Yeah.
brother.
Well, I ain't know people was missing me though, man. I'm glad to hear that. That that the stuff I'll be spewing is all right with folks.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes you wonder.
Gotta wonder, but it's a duty, it's a labor of love, like Ozzie Davis said. It's a labor of love, How you been, bro? What's going on with you?
Just busy, man, getting things done. Things you don't want to do, things you gotta do.
Yes, sir.
And things that just things, man. So that's it. It's the end of the year. It was end of the fiscal year. Well, the government year. Trying to get some reports done. Grant year for the position that I took. So I got to write reports on that. And when you work in grant funded positions, they like a lot of paperwork and a lot of writing, which makes me wonder, why did I leave where I was to help the community? Because I took about a 65% reduction in pay.
Ooh. You love them black folk, man. You love them folk.
Well, man, I thought I did.
You love them folk, bro. Stop playing.
Bruh, yeah, I thought I did. To be honest with you.
Yeah, man. It'll test your metal for sure, man. This is the Real HD Show. The higher discussion is prime time with a purpose, and you have just tuned in. This is probably the only show of this and the other airwaves where you will hear us battle crazy headlines with freedom music. But we're gonna change the format a bit, and you got to join the show at 7:30 if you want to hear the freedom music mix. And I'll just let you know what you missed in terms of tonight. This is what you missed if you missed the freedom music mix, man. You missed Let's Do It Again, Staple Sisters. You missed Tank and the Bangers, Black Folk. You missed Bilal, Love Poems. You missed Layla Hathaway and Joe Sample, When Your Life Was Low. You missed Sam Henshaw, All Good. You missed Razcast, Artist of the Year. That's some serious healing music right there. If not healing music, it's conscious music coming only from where? The Real HD Show, the higher discussion. Jump on in, the water's fine. This show is yours and mine. We're here to do it like we supposed to. And a couple of minutes ago, what you heard the ancestral blueprint. That's what you heard, the ancestral blueprint. And what is that? Answers that we have to our crazy, crazy problems are already here. We just got to study the ancestors. So thanks to brilliant brothers like Mozzie, you know what I mean? We're going to play excerpts from all our ancestors, whether they be live, whether they be in cartoon form, because the point is to wake up the dead. Job of resurrectors is to wake up the dead. You know what I'm saying? Tribal Quest 1990, Midnight Marauders. So we here, you're there. Thanks for joining us. You could be anywhere right now. You could be on Netflix. You could be watching Monday Night Football. You could be doing a lot of things, but you're here with us. So we appreciate you rocking with us. And Steve-O, I think you're right, man. Is Kanye might be right on. Huh. We'll deal with Mr. West. Mr. West. We'll deal with Mr. West and a little bit further into the program because he has some interesting dealings and goings on himself. And it's off the beaten path, man. So before we get started, man, bro, is there anything that you'd like to cover, man? You ain't been on here in a while, but you know you like to come on here and throw them bows. Anything you'd like to cover? Any new things cross your waiver wire that you'd like to introduce the people to?
You know what? Before I present anything, I think you and I need to have a conversation off air, and
Okay.
you know, just kind of get the subject matter together.
Absolutely.
That way we can flow with it a little better.
Yeah.
But you know, folks, you know, start working on your diet. Start working on your hydroponics. You know, you can grow some tower hydro vegetables. You know, this deal where, you know, we're having issues with supply chain. It's really not an issue with supply chain. It's those who control the supply chain are starting to slow things down, because we have to remember the earth is very finite, and some of the things that we take from the earth is not being replenished. So, you know, just make sure you focus on, as a nation would always say, Elijah Muhammad, 1 meal a day is all you need to survive.
Right.
One good meal every day. I ain't talking about eating potato chips and some Popeye's chicken. I'm talking about some good fruits and vegetables, you know, and maybe some fish, or if you need to go get you some meat, make sure, you know, you're getting, you know, getting it from your small farmers, preferably a black farmer. There's enough of them out there. This past, was it this weekend or the previous weekend, they had the black farmers had their national convention down in the ATL. And one of the focuses was urban farming or urban agriculture. And we need to, you know, put our time and energy into that so that we can make ourselves feel better, look better, and function better. And so we need to get working on that. Us folks up north, it's a little bit different. You may have to convert your garage or something like that. But we have to start thinking about that stuff. There's a lot of signs and symbols and signals that are out there that says something going down. We don't know what it is exactly, but something going down. You know, as our grandparents would say to us, something ain't right. Something
Right.
ain't right.
Right. They put something ain't right.
They get that. So,
No doubt.
no, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying, you know, we, the people of dark hue, if history is our teacher, you know, we know that we've always had to be in a position to be prepared at all times. And remember, when the rest of the world was fighting, especially here in the U.S., and things didn't go well, we ain't had no problems. As long as they didn't bother us, we was good. We were singing and dancing on the weekends all the time, hitting the juke joint. But when they have problems, now, it ain't like before. You know, they pull up in your neighborhood. You know, you get there quick. So all I'm saying is we need to get it together. Do a little bit at a time. And I ain't sitting here trying to say we need to make this drastic change overnight. But we got a lot of brothers and sisters out there that have been trying to teach us the right thing. You know, we got Queen Afua telling us how to eat right.
Hey, shout out to Smart Tawi, Queen Afua. Shout out.
There's a great book that I have called Healthy Food and Spiritual Nutrition. Great book. Help you out with some of the basics of trying to get ourselves together. And listen, we all fall short. God knows I should be I would say minimum of about 40 pounds lighter than what I am. But, you know, I've decided and I've made a commitment, and the stars are finally lining up for me so that I can get to where I need to be and do what I need to do, so that, you know, if you got to throw that backpack on and we start walking around, because the zombies are out there, make sure you have enough bullets, make sure you have your weapon, and and make sure that you're able to walk. You got to walk from here to 400 miles away. Hey, sister, just, oh gosh, I'm not forgetting this. Underground Railroad. Say it again.
Harriet
Tubman. It was just Harriet Tubman week the other week. If they can walk from the south to the north and no problem, we got to be able to do so too.
Yes, sir.
So I'm saying, if we run out of energy and run out of power one day, what you gonna do? So be prepared. Do the things we follow what we're telling you on this show. We're giving you all the clues. We telling you that, we're giving you the news from a B1 perspective. And you know how we always had that, I'll go back to grandma and grandpa.
Hey, let me blow you up real quick. I love that. B1. Let's go.
Yeah. And grandma and grandpa always had that third eye open because it wasn't clouded with all that poor food. And they always, be ready, be prepared, and know that, something's going on and you just need to be ready for it. So I'll stop with that, and we're going to get on to today's news, and we about to let you guys in on some other thinking that will hopefully elevate your mind and get you to the level you need to be at, or at least thinking that way. We know it's a process. When you listen to some of these shows, and I used to have this problem years ago, I would listen to some of these brothers, man, they got they're eating the right way, and they're doing this and and I'm like, I used to call them, vegan Nazis, man, vegan nationalists. These brothers, you gonna die because you ain't eating right. And like, bro, take me through the steps, because you 65. I know when you were 35, you wasn't eating like this. So what's the process?
Right.
And folks, we're trying to give you the process, and part of that process is being aware of the information. Because a lot of times we don't have the information and we don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. So we can't expect from you something that you don't know about. But when you listen to the Real HD, we're going to open your eyes to the things that are happening around you. And if you listen to this Real HD show and you still walking around supporting some of this craziness, ain't nothing we can do for you. That's all we got to say. Well, but we ain't going to throw you away. We're just going to tell you to get to the back of the line, because you're in the way of the revolution.
Hey, love that. So, bro, I wanna piggyback off of something you said a little bit earlier. I want to circle back. You talked about food. You talked about getting people farming and getting ready and getting your subsistence game upgraded. Maybe think about turning your garage or your yard into a permanent growth space for these upcoming times that are coming down the pipe. There's some new, I didn't make this a part of the show tonight, but you brought it up. So, with myself and, my crack research team, right? We discovered that there's a certain species of crab and a certain species of shrimp that is all but extinct. And that's what's being put out on the wire right now. That seafood is being extinct because of global warming, yada yada. And then I say inflation boogeyman. You say let's prepare. I saw that's important. But you mentioned how things are happening, and right there, that's a couple of things that you have to prepare yourself for. We're gonna have to be able to let go of those posh eateries. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out every once in a blue moon, but Americans make every Friday night situation of it, 2-3 times a week situation of going out and dining on these crustaceans, and now they're on the decline. Now they're wagging the dog and putting out a wolf tickets about how these are becoming extinct. And I want to jump in something real quick, because we're on food, and I want to keep it there for just a second. Power to the people news. Wait, what just happened? This just happened. 3D meat.
Oh yeah. 3D meat. 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 3D
Redefine Meat strikes a partnership to boost 3D printed meat in Europe. Here we go. You got your man Kill Bill buying up everything in Minnesota and Montana
Yeah, buddy.
to raise these impossible meat farms. And now they got 3D printer meat. Talk to us, bro.
Now, you know what's interesting about that is, as you know, our man, Mr. Bill, he advocates synthetic meats. He's a big advocate for that. And he's putting his billions behind that. And what's even more funnier or ironic is that he's buying up farmland so he can eat the good meat, him and his select few. I think it's a book by Dermoff called Who Rules America Now? I think that was the name of the book. And one of the things that he talked about in that book, which was very interesting, folks, remember when you listen to the Real HD show, we do quote books. Reading is fundamental. We don't care if you're reading books. We don't care if you're reading articles. We don't care if you're reading magazines. You got to read, people. You got to read. The average American does not read after high school. The average American does not read after high school, does not read books after high school. And in the Black community, it's even higher. That's why we can never have Black bookstores. That's why we can't have independent Black media as it relates to news, things of that nature, because it requires a certain level of reading that we as a people refuse to do. Remember, when we was young, we were always told reading is fundamental and a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Wow. So back to what I was saying, in that book, you know, what he talks about is what happens with that upper crust, whether they like each other or not. They deal with each other based solely on the fact that they have lots and lots of money. So what they do then, they all go to the same schools. They all hang out in the same social circles. They all do the same cotillions, back and forth with each other, the whole 9 yards. And that's important because when the time comes to where we'll be eating that green sloop. You seen that movie, the something train, where the train, they were stuck on the train. I forgot the name of the train.
Money Train?
No, it wasn't Money Train. I don't know, Death Train or something craziness like that. And basically, we lived in a post-apocalyptic world in which the world has frozen over. But there's this train that just constantly drives around the world every day. It just rides. And so there's levels. All the poor people are in the back of the train living in the slums. And they're given this green goop, dark blue, black goop, synthetic goop. And that's what they live off of. Then you go up a few cars and you got the regular people. And then as you go towards the front, you start getting into the higher class people that have, you know, they eat differently. They actually get real meals and they're growing plants on the plane and on the train. What's the name of this movie?
So you basically describe Hunger Games.
It's another type of movie just like that, man. And so what's interesting, they eat this green goop. And so what happens, man, is we got to understand that this is what they're doing, man. They're not doing this. The reason why they're doing this because they understand that at current rate of growth in terms of population and current rate of consumption, this planet cannot sustain itself. So you got to create something synthetic for the people, for those who are going to be left on the planet. And remember, there will always be those agents that will do their bidding, i.e., you know, they'll be part of the army to keep the poor people in line. You know, you can always find that. So you got to find those people who, you know, we got to make sure we identify those who's willing to sell us out and say, hey, I got to get mine.
Absolutely. Let me read this joint real quick. The byline. The physical attributes of 3D printed plant-based vegan meat produced by Israeli upstart Redefine Meat are compared with traditional meat in a laboratory in Rehuv. I'm trying to pronounce it right. Rehuv, Israel. Gotta put the in it. Right? artificial meat in the laboratory, right, in Israel as of October 2nd, 2022. Butter melts on 3D printed plant-based vegan meat produced by Israeli startup. Then it says workers in the plant links 3D printed plant-based vegan sausages produced by Israeli startup. So they're showing you how they're doing it in the factory. A worker configures a
Yes,
large-scale Angus meat printer to produce 3D printed plant-based vegan meat at the offices of Israeli startup Redefine Meat. A chef garnishes a dish containing 3D printed plant-based meat by Israeli startup, and then the 3D printed meat is seen shortly after being printed by Israeli startup. So it's basically showing you the different phases of production. They are working with Redefine Meat has struck a partnership with importer Girardi Meats to drive all of European distribution of its meat steak cuts to produce on 3D printers, it said on Thursday. New factory in the Netherlands, hoping to establish its products as an alternative to conventionally produced meat. Man, hey, what does the public think of where your new meat is going to come from? Because we all know that, of course, these are all testing grounds for what they want to do in the United States and North America and some of the countries, if you will. And we have it going on with Redefine Meat, 3D Meat. And you know they tested the ground for this, bro, with that whole Impossible Whopper, right?
Well, two things have been going on, and we didn't realize it.
What was it, the Impossible sandwich at Dunkin' Donuts? So they definitely.
No, Burger King is doing Impossible, and I think Dunkin' Donuts is doing Beyond.
Beyond, right? Same thing.
Yeah, same stuff. But see, they and what we didn't realize, because we still so busy chasing after the crustaceans, getting that seafood boil. Gotta have me gotta have some scrimp with my steak. We so busy watching that and trying to make sure we have po' boy sandwiches that we didn't catch what they were doing. What's the big movement right now? Plant-based, vegan. That was the big movement.
Yes, sir.
What's the big movement in technology right now? 3D printing. It was only a matter of time before they converge. But it wasn't even that they were converging. It was they were working. We think a lot of this stuff is somewhat happenstance. Remember, you read the book, The Unseen Hand?
Oh, hell yeah.
Conspiratorial view of history. We always think that history is just one of those things that just happens to happen. And as long as humans are involved and we have the thought processes that we have, we're not like animals where things just happen in the wild. The things we engage in, the things that goes on in this world are actually planned things. The problem is, as what's in that Public Enemy song, we too busy watching Channel Zero. We don't realize that this stuff is going on right in front of our nose.
Yes, sir.
You give me a 75-inch TV with 160 channels, I am not watching nothing on those. Well, people are not going to watch a documentary, because this documentary about the Israelis was on 60 Minutes. What I mean? So it's been on, popular media, but most folks, especially the ones who look like us, we ain't watching that. Dude, I ain't paying $140 a month to watch 60 Minutes. I need to flash in the dash because I got high definition, 4K transmission, not realizing that the average human eye won't even notice the difference.
Don't
know the difference between 1080p and 780p and at a high refresh rate. Don't even know the difference. But they can say it's a nice thing. So they got us caught up into stuff. And who do they get? What did Neely Fuller say earlier? We get a lot of these folks who are entertainers and they start promoting. They can promote anything to us.
Absolutely, man. So I want to talk about entertainers promoting something. So a little while ago, two men embarrassed themselves on a national stage over a young sister, and I say young because she's middle aged, but she had alopecia. And them two brothers went on, they embarrassed themselves on an international stage over this woman who has alopecia, who happens to be the wife of one of the men that struck the other men. And of course, I'm talking about Will Smith, Chris Rock, and Jada Pinkett, that whole fiasco. And that was all over the whole, what was the movement? Protect Your Crown or Earn Your Crown movement, where the people, where the sisters were trying to petition Congress to make a national law to absolve women of problems with hair and representation in public and business spaces. Mm-hmm. Well, here's something that's directly linked to that. I'd like to start it off. You know what I'm saying? Power to the People News. Wait, what just happened? Here we go. Chemical hair straighteners likened to higher risk of uterine cancer for Black women. If you care about Black women's health, you have to care about our hair. Professor Wendy Green, a leading voice in the movement against Black hair discrimination. So it's interesting that I watched the BET Awards. And why did I do that? I watched it with my daughter so I could point out the hypocrisies that were going on. But of course, I had to endure. And that's right around the time when brother Darkman X passed away. You know what I mean? And everybody gave him that big send-off. He was the best part, honestly, because it was so heartfelt. Being all the people that he knew in his life and touched in his life. And everybody came out to celebrate that brother's life. But they had a moment during the show when they were talking about the Crown Act. That's what it was called, the Crown Act. And they wanted, I believe BLM and a couple of other organizations were trying to petition Congress to take this on. And I didn't hear anybody mention this.
Of course not.
I didn't hear anybody mention that.
Remember what I said. The majority of our people don't read beyond high school or college. And what they do read is always something that's very salacious. I don't know. Sometimes reading like The Man Not, reading
let's go. Hip-hop. Shout out to Dr. Tommy Curry, man. I'm still working on getting him on the show, at least in audio. We talked a couple times. He's all the way in Cambridge. Okay. Crazy. Okay. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. We working.
And books like Hip Hop Hypocrisy, when lies have been made to sound like the truth. We don't read stuff, man. So as that age-old saying goes, if you want to hide something from Black folks, man, just put it in a book. Because you can't say it ain't there. It's written in black and white. But I got 160 channels, bro. I'm trying to see what Cardi B looked like in high def.
Right?
I can't I ain't gonna see her live. Yeah, see her in 4K. I ain't gonna see her live. So at least I can see it look live on my TV. Bruh. And it's almost life size because I just got that bonus. I've been saving. I done skimped on a few of my bills. And I'm gonna get me an 85-inch. So she gonna be looking lifelike. That's what happens with us, man. We done fell for the okie doke. And we have been told that in order for you to feel good, in order for you to be good, you want status, you need to have the big house. Think about the movement from people in the North moving to Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. Now Houston's a new spot. They moved to these places because they told that they can have some of the best creature comforts you can get. You can get that big fat house and you can live like the people you see on TV. You can get a nice car. But what they don't tell you in the end is that you become a slave to that stuff, man.
Absolutely.
And while you slaving to that, you don't read these articles in the news that's telling you that chemical hair straightener is linked to higher risk of uterine cancer for Black women. And most of our Black women who get uterine cancer, what happens? Large percentage of them die.
Right. The polyps, the ovarian cyst. We did a whole show
on that stuff, man.
We did a whole show on ovarian cysts, and Sincere, since he has a pharmacology and urban farming background, was trying to help a lot of sisters out, giving them, advice on what type of products to consume, to help them out with their problems with uterine cancer and cyst of the ovaries. But let me read this real quick. Women using chemical hair straightening products are at a higher risk for uterine cancer than women who reported not using them. A new study in National Institutes of Health. Researchers noted that Black women may have a higher risk because they are more likely to use such products more frequently. A group of researchers in the NIH, they go to NIH again, looked at hair habits of more than 33,000 women. Those who use the chemical hair straightening products at least 4 times a year were more than twice as likely to develop uterine cancer. And that is very popular with the sisters. Chemicals like parabens, phthalates, fragrances in hair. And I remember phthalates in the Aaron Brockovich article was one of those forever chemicals. That means it doesn't die. It just continues on in different forms.
Well, you know what it is that the half-life is a lot like radioactive isotopes. It's 50,000 years.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that becomes the problem. Plastic, people say plastic don't break down. Plastic break down. It just, you need about 30,000 years for plastic to break down.
Yes, sir.
So
here's one more stat I wanna before we go on, because I want to show something that brother Mozzie sent to me earlier today. I want to play that clip as well. 60% of the participants who reported using straighteners were Black women. The bottom line is that exposure burden appears to be higher amongst Black women. There we go. And that's all because they have the, want to look like a white woman complex.
Shape shifting.
So if you women, right? So if you stop trying to want to be a metahuman, you know what I mean? And just be a human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might avoid some of these tragic pitfalls. But I want to put this one joint out that Brother Mozzie sent me earlier today. I think it's
before you go into that. Remember what was the issue back in the day with the weave and the braids, the connectulon? Remember that? And then also the glue that sisters was using on the weaves back in the day.
Exactly.
Same exact thing, man.
Exactly. No, you spot on. And I wanted to keep it rolling on that same thought pattern of women's health and women's just women's health. So let's sisters' health. So let's jump in clip real quick on Wealth Real HD Show. I guess this could be our AAT report for the evening. I didn't have one planned. I had something else popping off that we're gonna get into in a second, but let's check this out. Real HD Show.
Stem cell technology that Peter and I invested in is called SCMT, which takes the egg, a young fertile woman specimen, takes the egg and it takes out the nucleus and puts our DNA in the nucleus. You just go ahead and take it out. And this is part of this genetic variants that we will see in any other race on the planet. We observe these sexy Black women from Africa. You guys have a kind of an monopoly on this genetic protection. And we want some of that. So, girls, for $100, we'll pay you for your hair. Let's do it. I'll do it $500.
Wow, that's amazing. So much to go through, so much to break down in that clip. I'll let you. I'll let you go first, man.
Well,
I got my Ginsus out, bro. I got my Shinobi blades out. Go ahead.
Now you don't have to get your Shinobi blades out, and let me explain to you why. Because if we have people who have listened to this show before, I think we've talked about Henrietta Lacks. We've talked about how the white people are using melanin to power the planet and to power engines and uses batteries to light up their flashlights and everything else.
Yes,
so
sir.
This is part and parcel for the course of the stuff that we've talked about. And it's just further evidence of all the stuff that we always been showing folks for the past year or so. Like we ain't making this stuff up. Every time you turn around, they're letting you in on what's going on. But the question is, are we listening?
Excellent question. Here's another question that is related to the clip. How come there wasn't no elder sisters there amongst those people? And I know he wanted their fertility of sorts. It seems like there was a lot of people missing from that placement. So when you want to deal with people on an international level, and you want to talk about how their African genetics are so important, well, the vanguard for the African genetics is the black man. I don't see the black man in that bartering session, and that's why they got lowballed. And not only that, but why are our sisters given the transaction offering? Why is that the case? Why are they given why is it okay for us to always have to be part of the transaction? And then I'm compiling now. I'm compounding, right? Compounding going on here. So compound solution from this chemistry experiment, because it's very much an experiment, and they're trying to see if you are going to fall for it. Will you fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
Well, it's not even falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Remember Steve Coakley said, we when he got into the discussion about conspiracies, he said, this shit ain't conspiracy. A conspiracy is hiding shit on, and thinking you're going to, get away with it. But he's like, these folks tell it, he said, not only do these people have the power to hide the conspiracy, but they have the power to show you the conspiracy and then say, so what the hell are you going to do about it? I done told you, you done seen it, you done figured it out.
Right.
I even showed you what it was.
Exactly. EPMD 1987. So what you saying?
Exactly.
So what you saying? What you gonna do about it? Right.
Yeah, what you gonna do about it?
Right. And then
that's the part
Go ahead.
that we have to really start focusing on, man. What we gonna do about it?
Right.
And as Shaka Khan used to saying, what you gonna do for me?
When the chips are down.
There you go. And the chips are down for a lot of sisters, man. So brothers, what y'all gonna do? Because the reality is, the brothers ain't there because a lot of us are missing. And we don't want to acknowledge that in this world of misandry. The brothers are missing. And there's a reason, there's a social political reason why we are missing. And we don't ever want to discuss that issue.
Yeah, man, that almost looked like a Faustian type of deal with the devil type of offer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what type of nonsense was that, man?
And give me your uterus and give me your placenta. Come on, man. That's why when your kid is born, take your placenta home. We used to take it home back in the day, and plus a lot of us used to have our kids born at the house, and we should take it out to the backyard or out to the field somewhere and bury it. They take the placentas and eat it, thinking they're going to get some superhuman strength.
Oh, yeah.
But that goes to show you.
Go ahead.
But that goes to show you what they think about us, man. And that's why everything they do, I always say this to people all the time, everything that they do, always in the back of their mind, has us in mind. You know, how are we going to survive in this world? I don't know, but we got to make sure we figure it out because we know black people will.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So let's somehow, you know, cut the hair at the barbershop and, you know, make sure you rake it up. And we got this system that allow you to come and don't throw the hair in the trash because you're going to mess up the trash.
Give it to me.
Yeah, give it to me. Give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to understand that, man. We are divine people, man. For those who are Christians, when they talk about the 144,000 that's going to rule in the heavens, those people look like us.
Yes, sir.
When they talk about the lost tribe of Israel, is it real? As our boy Steve Coakley used to say all the time, they're talking about us. There ain't nobody lost on the planet like us.
Right? With their 3D meat. I was expecting an eyeball to pop out that joint.
Yeah, man.
So, here's another portion of this that we're gonna wrap this portion up here about sisters' health. But even though we got the Faustian transaction happening, we got the chemical straightening in the hair causing uterine cancer, and then we have people running for representative government who don't care nothing about your reproductive health either. Check this out. Stacey Abrams, now this is everybody's, you know, go get it, girl. Go, girl. Says abortion can help address inflation issues. Children is why you're worried about the price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs for women. This is not a reproductive issue. Wow. Way to cheapen the abortion piece. Way to cheapen a woman's the value of a woman's womb. What's your thoughts, man, when you see crap like this? A Vote-demic episode a couple episodes ago, but here we go with more foolishness right on time for the midterms. And this is everybody's incumbent, or not incumbent, but the future hope. You know, this the great LGBTQ hope here, talking about abortion can address inflation issues.
And this is the fundamental reasons why black people should not be liberals.
Exactly.
Because there is a thought process that is so backwards in the liberal mindset that it don't make no sense. Now, how could anybody? But see, the problem is, man, she wants to be a political superstar. She wants to be famous, and she wants to get the big contract. You know, Security Memorandum 282, something like that, 280, whatever. What it say? Wouldn't you rather be a well-paid entertainer or athlete? And she ain't nothing but a political entertainer. They know she ain't gonna accomplish nothing. And if she does accomplish something, it ain't gonna be in the betterment for nobody. And and for, you know, those of European extraction that is monitoring the channel, whatever she does, it's gonna affect you too. This woman is off her rocker. She would do and say anything to get so that she can be on the first team, so she can get out on the field.
She ain't the only one, man. Check this one out, man. I'm gonna dig something up real quick.
I know there's a few of them out there, but I'm just saying this is what we got to understand, man. And then we get caught up. Oh, and then here we go with that gynocratic politics again. Oh, see, I just going after the sister because he's a sister. I'm like, have y'all listened to what this nut job done said? Right. Call it like it is, man. We got to call these folks nut jobs, man. What does Steve Coakley say? Naming the names.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So those who are listening to the show while he brings up that piece, go look at some Steve Coakley lectures. One of our great researchers.
Yes, sir.
Brother who called it like it was.
Sir.
And is. but he's an ancestor now. So try to get his material while it's still out there.
You know, getting is slowly evaporating from all platforms. You know,
Yes, it is very slowly, but it's
slowly
evaporating because you used to find some really good stuff of his out there. The only one that you can really find now that is worthwhile is the one on the Boule.
Yeah,
Because you know they're being thrown on under the bus now because they've outlived their usefulness.
hey man, you get that bell, you get that call,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to do what the call say do. And
Especially when,
that might mean falling on that sword. You know what I'm saying?
hey,
You know,
either you fall on the sword or they throw you on the sword.
right?
Ain't that right, Bill Cosby?
Let's talk about it. Who he pissed off?
Exactly. Didn't give up that property, man. That's the problem. You got that property up in Massachusetts sitting on all those natural resources, man. That he told the folks, don't give it up. And they're like, no, you giving this up one way or another.
Right, the crude oil, right?
Some like natural gas and some type of precious mineral that's up that way.
Yeah.
And so all those yeah, and I don't feel bad for those people up there because, of course, the only people that live in that neighborhood are those who got more money than you and I can spend in a year or in our lifetime. But they have that resource up there that people want. Bill know it and understand it, so he had a moment of clarity. And I said, Bill, you knew what you took a pledge to, right? That's where Bill went wrong. Bill did not follow his marching orders. He had a moment of clarity. And that moment of clarity got to go. So while people thought he was out there dogging us out, what he was really doing was getting us to really take a look at who we were and who we are and the things that we do. No, Bill, you ain't supposed to do that. You need to talk about these young boys walking around with their pants down. We want them to stay down. Because if I'm a police officer and I got to chase them, it's easier for me to catch them when their pants falling off. Now you tell them to put them up, I can't catch them. Because as a police officer, I ain't in shape. I got in the academy because I was white. I didn't get into the academy because I was athletically or inclined in any way, shape, or form. That's why when you start to run, I know I can't catch you. So you know what I do? I just shoot you in the back and said I was scared because you was running away, even though you was 130 feet away and moving away at a fast pace.
Yeah, man. So this whole country is on this wave to get ready for these midterms. And they want to make sure that these congressional soft seats land in these preferred hands. And you see what your homegirl is doing here with her abortion piece, you know, wilding out, you know, talking about, abortion can address inflation. And she's not the only one wilding out in the name of getting elected. There's plenty of
abortion can help inflation. You know why, right? Population control. But go ahead.
Right. How about it? We're going to get to it, though, bro. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. Trust. But you got this representative out of Utah, Linda Paulson, Taylorsville Republican and self-described awesome candidate for Utah Senate, has gone viral. Let's check out her 5 minutes of foolishness. Real HD Show.
Hey, Utah District 12, listen up right here. There's a new name on the ballot for the Senate this year. My name is Linda Paulson, Republican and awesome. Love God and family and the Constitution. I tried to get another conservative to run. Nobody could do it, so I'm getting it done. I'm pro-religious freedom, pro-life, pro-police, the right to bear arms and the right to free speech. I want less government. control and regulation want to stop and expose all political corruption with integrity, morality, accountability. Government programs should lead to self-sufficiency and support traditional family
All right,
as the fundamental
I had to
unit
stop
of
that.
society.
Yeah, bro, you about to make me
They're
puke,
pushing
man.
for new
I had to
beliefs.
stop that because
Isn't it interesting?
she missed the beat. She missed the beat and didn't rhyme on about 4 bars, man.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
But isn't it interesting though what she uses as her vehicle?
right now, bro. Go ahead.
But think about what she's using as her vehicle to get the message out there.
You know,
Ain't that something?
no, you know.
But you know what's so sad about it? It sounds like a lot of today's young rappers.
Ooh.
They can be mad at me all day long. I know some of y'all listening. They can be mad at me all day long. Y'all say, that's how bad y'all sound.
Yeah, man.
Throw in some profanity and some and all these sexual innuendos and everything else. That's what you sound like.
So now you got me off my agenda because I gotta throw it up here. I did it a couple of shows ago.
I'm sorry.
I gotta throw the article up here about the CIA agent who, in an interview, who talked about hip hop, not hip hop, but rap, and talked about how rap was. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. How rap was intentionally infiltrated, and let me see if I could just pull it up from my memory. Just get to it.
Oh, while you're pulling that up, it's a brother.
It'll be worth your while. Give me a second, family. I'll pull this up.
It's a brother who goes by the name the Conscious Rasta, Kidi Obiawadu. He did a piece about 15, 20 years ago called Hip Hop, Planned Chaos and Hip Hop or something of that nature, man. I'm butchering it right now. But he talked about the hip hop world and modern hip hop and how it's planned chaos. And he goes through and break down all the major players, who the agents, CIA agents were, who are, those who work in special agencies within the police department and everything like that. So it's if you can get your hands on it, it's a great report to read.
I got so much in my bookmarks.
Get that organized, man.
Yeah, man. I just say that.
You got to create those bookmark folders, and that way you dump them in the folders and you label them.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go directly into my. Yep, found it. All right, so
take the paper off the printer.
All right, check this out. I'm gonna share my screen, and this is what you were just talking about. She used hip hop as her vehicle to manipulate the masses, and here it is. CIA financed hip hop and gangster rap. CIA financed hip hop in the 80s to corrupt American youth amidst ex-CIA.
No, I'm telling you to get it off the printer.
So it also says that John Holmes, a retired CIA agent, admitted this week on national Russian television that the CIA was behind the creation of a lot of hip hop in the 80s scene and financed major hip hop acts, including NWA, Bambaataa, Flash, and the Furious Five. The government at the time was spending big money, quote, serious money, on this covert operation destined to further and corrupt the American youth to nihilist, anti-establishment, anti-American ideologies, he explained in a half-hour interview on broadcast television. So they even gave him his name, John Homestead. There it is. Check that out. It's a site called Brutal Proof, and it was updated on March 8th of the year. And he also called out Leor Cohen, that was one of the founders.
Got it off the printer.
And if everybody knows Def Jam, everybody knows that Def Jam was one of the major labels that had some of the bigger produced rap acts of the 80s. Houdini, who did world tours, Run DMC, who did world tours. Leor Cohen had his hands. Rick Rubin, Leor Cohen, the list goes on and on and on. They had their hands all in that. You know what I mean?
Cohen is an agent, and he was a major player.
Yep.
And while we on hip hop,
let me enlarge your screen and bring closer to your camera. Hip hop. What is it? It's kind of glaring. Hip hop hypocrisy. Is that what it's called? Okay.
Hip hop hypocrisy.
Okay. So one thing
have been made. Hip hop. Oh, that's a little better. Hip hop hypocrisy. When lies been made to sound like the truth.
Yeah.
It just so happens to be sitting here today. I've been looking for the book actually, so kind of worked out.
Yeah, one of the things. So it's interesting that this woman, what was her name? Linda Paulson. Linda Tolson. Linda Tolson out of Utah used hip hop or rap, I should say. See, that's the thing, man, because I came from that era, so I'm gonna make the distinction. Hip hop is the culture, rap is the business. That's the performative. That's the performative business. Hip hop is breakdancing, graffiti, styling, MCing, and DJing. That was organic. Had nothing to do with white folk. Had everything to do with, melanated folk and our ingenuity to be out there and be in fellowship with one another, and stop the violence of the gangs in the 70s. That's where that came from. That's what Flash and Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash and Kool Herc, at 1700 and 1625 Cedric Avenue, 1725, 1600 Cedric Avenue. Shout out to PS 27. I went there as from 3rd to 5th grade. So I saw a good amount of that. And there was always a distinction made between hip hop and rap. But of course, the more popular theming of it is to call it all hip hop, which is inaccurate. But we'll get to it. But I want to talk about Linda Tolson and how she chose her offbeat, off-brand, can't hold a tune self, chose to use that as the vehicle to promote her little, self-destruction and national destruction. Meanwhile, we learning that CIA ops had their hands all over commercial rap in the 1980s. Hey, let us know, man. Jump on here, man. We got people in Trovo Nation on the show. We got people in Mob Crush on the show. We got people on Facebook on the show. Jump in. Let us know what you think, man. Should we discontinue listening to commercial rap because of the antecedents that I just talked about? Or should we make some sort of political stance to save that genre and the art form? Did you see what Judge Joe Brown had to say about hip hop?
Oh yeah, I was. You know what? I just started listening to that.
Commercial rap. He brought it back to the whole slave piece, right? Antebellum slavery. And what he said was, and they detailed this in a movie called Sankofa. So if y'all never seen the movie Sankofa, go see it.
Oh yeah. That's a classic. Matter of fact, where can you find that? Because remember, that was an independent movie. That if you weren't on that scene, it was very hard for you to get your hands on.
Yeah, they had several premieres all over the country, but after the premieres, no major studios would pick it up. So it kind of died off as soon as it came out. But in the movie Sankofa, they showed how the woman was the woman who was the major star of the show, of the movie rather, had a son through, forced rape. And
right.
Yeah, and the young man, because he was fair-skinned, you could still see he was black, but he was fair-skinned. So of course he had privilege on the grounds and privilege in the, plantation of sorts. And what they did was they elevated him as the only one on the plantation that could read. And by virtue of that, he became the preacher because he had a way with words. And the connection that Judge Joe Brown made was that they used brothers on the plantation that had a way with words once they were educated as
They made them preachers.
yeah, they made them disseminate the information of the master of the plantation. So you could disseminate the Christianity when you wanted to, but the brothers that had a way with words were celebrated and made to be the vaulted 20% of select males. So now you know where that comes from, the 80-20 rule. So when you get into the 80-20 rule, you know how you have a lot of sisters and women who love to revolve around the same 20% of men because they have prize status in the society. So now he made the connection between that and fast forwarding into how in this time period, the athletes, the entertainers, the rappers are the vaulted 20% of select men that most people want to be involved with right now. Is this done by chance? I think not. I think that's spot on by Judge Joe Brown. And if you ever get a chance to check out an Italian economist who came up with the 80-20 rule based on economics, his name is Wilfredo Pareto. Check him out. Interesting cat. Existed at the time of Machiavelli, and right when the Italian Renaissance and the commercial end of it was becoming real successful, and the mercantile class started to replace the monarchy. They became just as important as the monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And when you get the whole Enlightenment era and so on and so forth. I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole of covert things, but it can go there. Michelangelo, so on and so forth. Leonardo da Vinci, blah, blah, blah. But check out Wilfredo Pareto, and he's the first one to come up with the 80-20% rule, but I don't think he knew that it would have the social impact that it had. I think he just thought that it would have the impact on economics and distribution. But what it did was it had an impact on who women considered prize bachelors for their arm and suitors. And then of course, what happens after that, if you only have 20% of the people mating with 80% of the women, you're gonna have a lot of baby mamas.
Oh yeah.
A lot of baby mamas, a lot of Title 4D up in the place to be. You know what I mean? So talk to us, man. What you think about that, bro?
Well, and we see that playing out, and I just think about high school. I mean, let's call it like it was in high school. I don't know what it's like for you in high school, but for me,
same. Yeah.
There was always first the pretty boy. Who was light skinned with the good hair. And he always had the sisters. Then fell in line with the athletes.
I'll be sure in the 80s.
There you go. There you go, man.
Yes, sir.
And then, if you weren't the the lighter of the hue, and you were, didn't pass the paper bag test, you had to have had something that was considered endearing of some sort. And sports was that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played football and ran track. I was a nerdy kid too, because I was in prison. I was, now doing all the academic stuff. I was in the band. So I was a pretty popular guy. I had no problem, getting the ladies. But what was interesting was that brother who was popular, you can easily walk around with, at minimum, 2 girls in the same school. One who's your main girl, and the other one who say, hey, I know your girl's class is over on the first floor on the west side of the building. Won't you meet me on the third floor on the east side of the building? And she's cool with that. But what was even now, you had that going on, but think about the brothers, and I know you had to have this in your school because you had that one brother, man, that all the sisters just, even the ones you thought had some sense. If that brother would have said, "Come here," they would have came.
Yeah.
If he would have said, "Yeah, I want to be with you tonight," even though you see him walk down the hallway, he can slide down 2 or 3 good sisters, man, and they'll still be okay, I'll be the fourth one. I ain't got no problem.
Right. 80-20 rule, man.
80-20, man. It's something else, man.
Or you had to be a D-boy. You had to, you pulled up with your little car and your little
Oh man, come on, man.
Your little
Back
money
in the late 80s. Come on now. You rolling up to school with a little jalopy. I remember freshman year of college, man. This brother had a Datsun B10. A Datsun B210 or something like that. The dude, you remember the little dot? Man, that was the raggediest car I ever saw in my life, man. But you know what? That brother worked over the summer. He was able to get that vehicle. Now, he was an interesting dude. I forget his name, man, but Haitian brother, man. Cool. He was a cool dude, man. But, he wasn't something that all the sisters was going after. He had that unitooth in the middle, it kind of turned sideways, but he had something that a lot of brothers didn't have. He had that Datsun.
Yeah, man. For me, it
had
was
a nice sound system, drown out the noise from the engine.
For me, it was
had some heat.
For me, it was a little D-boy around the way who had the little red on white Volkswagen Jetta. With the rims.
Oh, the Jetta was where it was at.
Yeah, he would pull up and be the superstar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you forgot your name.
Yeah, shorty forgot your name. Who are you?
Come on, we've been knowing each other since kindergarten. How you forget me now?
Yeah, I was playing football. Yeah, I thought you liked me a minute ago. I pulled up in the Jetta, and you don't remember my name now.
Yeah, well, football don't pay off till later.
Yeah,
if it does pay off, it ain't gonna pay off now.
Yeah,
homeboy driving right now. What you got?
Yeah, man.
I got some bus tokens.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to amplify how, during this crazy political thing, they will go out their way to secure your interest, your vote, your time, and waste your time and waste your energy during this time period, but will offer you little or next to nothing in return. So we coming on the last 15 minutes of the show, bro. I wanted to give you choice of what we're gonna deal with, man. Do you want to deal with the Kanye, Elon Musk, Trump alliance, or do you want to deal with deputized white folk running rampant all over the country? What say you, man? Deputized white folks?
Let's deal with the deputized white folks.
Okay, deputized white folks.
Because there's enough people talking about Kanye and his alliance.
Yeah, man.
As you can see, there's many people dropping him now, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye, we let you in the mix while you're giving away the secrets, but go ahead.
Yeah, man. So just to preface the Kanye alliance, man, it's Elon Musk. Elon Musk is just about owns Twitter. He's gonna own Twitter within a year. Trump has what is it called? Truth Social. He owns Truth Social. And then Kanye is gonna own Parler. So now you have 3 people who are tossed out by the establishment, for lack of a better term, owning vehicles that allow for First Amendment rights and free speech. Meanwhile, the WEF, World Economic Forum, they got everybody down with them. They got Facebook down with them. They got Yahoo. They got Reuters. So I mean, heavy hitters like chairman of Reuters, chairman, Zuckerberg. I mean, the people, you know what I mean, to concern yourself with. So if you guys want to check that out, there's a good article in Politico about the Kanye, Musk, and Trump alliance, and the nationalists versus the globalists. If you watch this show before, you've heard that coin the phrase happening And now Kanye is trying to, fix his wagon to that sort of an alliance. It's very, very interesting things happening. But let's get to deputized whites. Here we go. Protesters take over Milwaukee streets. Let me pull down the call letters. There you go. Protesters take over Milwaukee streets after video of white man throttling the neck of this 24-year-old with special needs. And it's cut off right here. You know what? Let me pull it up in my bookmarks, because I definitely have this one, without a doubt. But there's this brother who has special needs. He's young man, maybe about the age of my son. He might be about between 18 and 21. But then when you're a special needs person, you basically have the mindset of a 12, 13-year-old. You know what I mean? Especially if you're like on the spectrum, autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically a child in a man's body, for lack of a better term. So this cat, after a week of the release of the video of a black man with special needs being assaulted, went viral the streets of Milwaukee, where the scene were several demonstrators aimed at bringing to justice to the victim. Community stakeholders protested the incident, asking why the aggressor targeted the victim and wanted answers regarding what happened. So we live in Rochester, bro, and we were front and center for Daniel Prude. And we were front and center for how they abused that brother and how the city basically was on fire because of it. Not to mention the that got arrested on 104. Shout out to the Bay family. So those two incidents set Rochester ablaze. And of course, the protest season, along with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor piece, all of that was the perfect storm for Rochester to be at least a couple months. What do you think about this white cat, while I bring it up, taking advantage of this disabled young man?
I think what we have to realize is that there are white people that and I'm gonna, we're gonna talk about this some more in the future, because I have some articles from back in the day where they talked about there are numerous white people who join these police, police ride-alongs. They have like these neighborhood, I want to call them vigilantes, because they have been, deputized, and we're unknowing of this. I know in the state of Georgia, for example, if there was a state emergency, there's various people that have been deputized by the state to now act as law enforcement. And remember, too, there's a lot of people who are involved in these private security companies. They get special designation in the time of any type of unrest or any type of state of emergency. So this stuff is out there, and we have to be prepared. And there are some of these folks who've been put in these positions, and they've gone gung-ho. Like this guy right here. He's just annoyed at a black man who has some learning disabilities. And so let me go beat up on him. But remember, white people don't beat up on strong people. If so, we would have invaded China by now. We would have been, you know what I mean? So in general, the general rule of thumb is they always wants to beat on people that they know that they can defeat. So I'm not surprised at this action. When you had those in Michigan, was it last summer, summer of 21, when you had all the unrest going all over the place, you had those patriots who went to the state capitol, and they were camped out with their weapons. Everybody acting like they big Willie. We ready to throw down against the government. They're trying to assassinate a woman, a white woman in particular. But they had the sister scared to go to work. She worked in the Capitol building. And what
Right.
happened? What did the sister do? Some of the brothers was like, yo, we about to escort you to work. So they strapped up, got suited and booted, and they walked her to work. And what happened to those white boys that were out there? Nowhere to show. And the ones that were there stood down and went off in the cut and hid. They only like to do stuff to those they know they can do it to.
Yeah, so that's the video, or at least still of the video. It's a still picture of the video where the white man is choking this brother on the spectrum, and he looks pretty young, even though he has a lot of facial hair, and he was physically choking.
While he's talking on the phone, like, "Hey, come get
Right.
this phone."
Right. So he's playing, vigilante extraordinaire, and 0011, right? And he actually has his hand around
His
the
neck.
brother's neck, and it's silly and it's crazy looking. And I thought that this would be the video. Okay, well, I'll just tell you about it while you guys can look at the actual picture of it happening. So this young brother was bike riding in this Minnesota territory, and they thought that he stole the bike because the bike was like brand new and shiny looking. The young man was well dressed, so on and so forth. So they thought that he might have stolen the bike from one of the neighbors' houses. So he wasn't, there was no benefit of the doubt given to his, legitimacy of having that bike. So what did this man do? Similar to the Trayvon Martin piece, he's going to stand his ground, right? He's going to deputize himself, or maybe he already is some sort of local deputized conditional deputy, because he takes it upon himself to choke this young man, this young brother, and hold him hostage until someone responds to what he thinks is a crime being committed. He thinks he has reasonable suspicion of a crime. You know what I'm saying? And a brother runs up, because I guess it's some sort of mixed community, and he takes out his phone and he goes, "Why are you choking him?" And he goes, "Oh, this ain't none of your business." And then the brother goes, "No, it is my business. Why are you choking him?" And he removes his hand from the young man's neck. And you can tell by the way that the young man in the video, if you go back and watch it, I think it's on YouTube, you can see it. You could tell that he wasn't the most intelligent young man. And you can tell, you could tell that he wasn't, equipped to handle that situation intelligently. And he couldn't, he didn't have the social intelligence to maneuver himself out of that situation, or even to defend himself. You know what I'm saying? And we're right off the heels of what happened with George Floyd. And of course, Kanye said fentanyl was the issue, not the fact that the race soldier sat on his neck and damn near broke his neck. Kanye and Candace Owens wants to blame it on fentanyl. I'm sure you hip to that, bro. But this made me start thinking. And here's my thought. Are there a lot more deputized white people in this country than we are aware of? Are white people being deputized daily?
Literally and figurative and symbolically.
Yeah.
Because they know, once again, that the conditions have been created such that I can do this.
Right.
I ain't gonna get in trouble.
Exactly.
So why should you? So I can do what I want to do. And
Right.
as one of our great ancestors, Dr. Amos Wilson, says, white people do what they do to us because they can. And we've done
Right.
nothing to change that dynamic.
Mm.
So while everyone's running out here on the liberal Hochul train here in New York State, just understand that she's making it more difficult for good brothers and sisters to defend themselves. Now, what if that was a young brother who was licensed to carry, was carrying that day, And then this guy did what he did, and he shot him.
Right.
And you shoot, when you learn to shoot, you don't learn to shoot the leg. You don't learn to shoot the hand. Send a mass, just like they teach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, would that kid have been in trouble? Some guy comes up to you, you don't know what the hell's going on. He starts choking you. Do I have the right to stand ground at that time?
Absolute madness, man. But you know, you're from the Rock and I'm from the Bronx, so it probably wouldn't have went down that way. You know, they know the ones to pick on. Let's just put it that way. They
Yeah,
know the ones to test. They know.
they always do, man. We can say that because ain't many of them touching people who look like you and me.
So here's another article on that same vein. Wisconsin police deputized armed vigilante enabling Rittenhouse shootings. A lawsuit claims. Lawsuit filed by Gage Grossroots. I don't care if I said his name wrong. They say our names wrong all the time. Who was shot by Rittenhouse, said police enforced a curfew as protesters, but not against armed white people. So
And
right
the beauty of that lawsuit, it is not us. It
Yes,
is
sir.
white people fighting against white people.
Yes, sir.
Now, what was interesting though is when these cases happen, man, and this is where we always run into problems. Think about this. We lose these cases, and then when you read the case, it's like, why were you arguing that? For example, Zimmerman. Why were we arguing anything outside of what was Zimmerman was told? Zimmerman was told, stand down. What were you told, Zimmerman? Stand down. Did you stand down? No. So you actually you preyed on this guy. You went after him.
Yeah.
You stalked him.
You felt
I felt no. We got into the fight. They get into the fight.
Yeah.
Who voice they heard hollering? Who slammed who to the ground? No. I told you as an authority of the police department, stand down. Anything else you're talking about in this case says that I am not trying to bring about justice. Now, before we do that, you talk about the next case. Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
They argued about everything else, but no one ever talked about how the hell you cross state lines with an assault rifle. That is a federal crime.
Right.
We ain't gonna argue nothing else. You can cry, I was scared. Oh my God. No, you cross state lines with a weapon. What is the law? Mandatory time. Didn't argue that.
Yeah.
We got all up into all this. Let's show how great of a lawyer I am and how great we can do this and we can do. Man, this is the problem with white supremacy that Neely Fuller talked about earlier. As we get so mixed up and so caught up into all this other stuff and how smart we are and how athletic we are and all this other stuff, nothing but massive confusion.
The fix was already in.
There you go, man. Keep it simple.
The fix was already in.
Already in.
They showed it on that show called, was it called The Judge? It was a Showtime show about a judge and his son commits murder by accident. And then he has to run around in multiple episodes, multiple seasons, hiding and using his office of his judgeship, his office, to cloak and camouflage the son's accidental murder of a hit and run that happened. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when they brought the one kid to trial, they managed to blame a black kid for the murder and had him put on death row. Yeah, it was crazy. But on that same vein of vigilantes, because there's a point to all of this, right? How an outspoken vigilante became a deputy and then was fired. So he was fired because it got found out that he was part of the Oath Keepers. And that's this dude right here. Let me see if I could read it. County Sheriff Office launched an investigation into the background of Calvin Walker, a new hire, after Sergeant expressed concern about a comment on a photo based on Walker's Facebook page in 2020. Friend asked whether the image showing Walker in cowboy boots and American flag, red t-shirt was racist or misogynistic. Walker responded, "It's honesty, it's a lot of both." Walker was fired from the sheriff's office in January as a result of the investigation. And then he was shown on Facebook, on his Facebook page, making the Oath Keeper sign. You know what I mean? But this cat is deputized. Go ahead.
If they did their due diligence, like they do with us when we try to become a deputy, or when we try to become a police officer anywhere in this country, if they did their due diligence, they should have known. But it goes to show you that they don't. I mean, think about the sister that was on the Breakfast Club a couple of months back, and she's been exposing the gangs, white gangs, within the Los Angeles Police Department. And she's talking about they all got the tattoos and they all got the, throwing up the signs, the whole 9 yards. These are white gangs operating in the police department. And once again,
right.
How do these people end up finding themselves as police officers? And we can use Rochester. There's a lot of brothers. My son took the exam. And there was a lot of brothers that was there, black and brown, that took that exam. And everybody who seems to always get hired look like the white boys who come from out in the suburbs somewhere. And there's two things about that. One is we still have not put ourselves in position to police ourselves. And the other part is we have politicians who know what the issues are and never seem to vote against it. The reality is, and think about here in New York State, especially Rochester, if you are going to make it a residency requirement, it requires an act of state law for it to happen.
Absolutely.
Because they've already, back in the 60s or the 70s, made it so that a police officer doesn't have to live in the city limits. But if I wanted to be a police officer in Irondequoit, you know what? Because my son was picked to be, he was tapped to, hey, once you join the academy for Irondequoit. And he said no, which was good because he finally, his social consciousness was ever growing. Plus, one of the things that what he said was very interesting. He said, "Dad, the way we conduct ourselves in the military," he said, "there's a lot of racism in the military. But one thing that you're taught is that you're taught these type of shenanigans we don't play. We don't play this. You don't beat up on innocent people just to beat up on them.
Right. You
don't go shoot people just to go shoot people. There's rules of engagement at all times."
Yes, sir.
And so, and everybody understood that they took a particular oath that makes them brothers, even though they don't associate with each other outside. But while they're wearing that uniform and they're out there in the field, they are brothers. But they ain't brothers of stupidity. And so he didn't join the force in Irondequoit because he didn't want to do it. He got the call for RPD and didn't want to do it either. But what I found interesting was there were a number of brothers who actually passed the agility because, they get you on the agility. And I'm still trying to figure out some of these dudes, how you see them and like, dude, you was able to run, do the requisite push-ups that was required.
Right, the pull-ups, right, all that. Right.
Yeah, dude, you literally can run that fast? I don't believe you, but okay.
With the pack on and all that?
Yeah. But then I'm looking at my son. He's like, "Dad," he's like, what they have to run, the time they have to run under a mile and a half, we have to run that in 2 miles.
Right.
We still got to run faster than that in 2 miles in a less time with our rucksacks on.
Right.
And that's an extra 70 pounds.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, yeah. That's why they don't deny a lot of the brothers who come out of the military. What they do is they try to dig into their background.
Right.
And they find something you did in high school. So I can say, "Nah, we can't put you down." And then to have brothers who are in the service not the service, but on the police department, and you are a lieutenant in these other high positions, you work like in Rochester. There's a brother we know, everybody knows it. He's involved in doing the research, involved in the psych evals and all that. Does not speak up for brothers, man. They done every time they need an interim police officer over the past 4 or 5 years. You're always the dude they call. Where is your juice at, man? Why can't you say no? That white boy I know is crazy. Ain't nothing crazy about that brother right there.
Hey, speaking of that, did you hear about the California story? We did it on the show, but you weren't on. There was a 3 dozen
yes,
LA County cats.
Yes.
Or failed their psych evals.
Yes. And that's the part I'm talking about.
There we go.
That's what I'm talking about. Don't matter whether they fail it. They're going to get on the force.
But they fail, which is crazy.
But they fail. And then from what I heard from the article that I read, some of these dudes were no way remotely shouldn't even have a gun license.
Right. Right. This is why they need insurance on their office when they go out there in their lawful capacity, because these knuckleheads, they got a history of these dudes being right.
Exactly. And a lot of them are suburban thrill seekers.
Absolutely. That's their background. That's the context to them. But I want to show you this one too. SCOTUS ruling allows Texas to deputize citizens as anti-abortion police. And this is all within a year, 2 years. Crazy, right? So now these people are going around, dropping dime on folks who get abortions. Now, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just saying this is what's happening, boots on the ground. One other thing I want to show you, and I don't have the St. Louis joint, but there's deputizing going on in St. Louis. And there's also, everyone should check this out, man. Go on BitChute.com and listen to this hot plate of garbage. Now, you're not going to like the angle that they're talking about this from. Right? But they're showing how they're creating a problem that they want to present a solution for.
Galilean dialectic.
Yeah, man. So they want to, because we're calling for an end to qualified immunity, and because we're calling for defunding the police and reassigning resources that the police are given into more useful ways that it can benefit society. They want to lessen their effectiveness on a day-to-day basis and ramp up crime. The New Orleans Police Department is hiring civilians due to its officer shortage.
Didn't they have this problem in New Orleans back in the early 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Where they had to hire a lot of civilians. They were hiring ex-cons as police officers in New Orleans.
But but truth be told, bro, that's the history of policing.
Yes.
They used to hire the bullies and the gang members in New York, in Philadelphia, when they first created the police departments, because the first 2 police departments in the country came from Philadelphia and New York, and they used to hire the gang members and the Bowery and all of that. So if you was the Broad Street bully, you got hired to be one of the coppers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And this is how the institution of law enforcement in the country was born. It was born out of that simpleton-like type of amassing. And it looks like in over 200 years, it hasn't changed. What say you, bro?
The bully does what? Intimidate people. What does the police officer do? Intimidate people.
Exactly. Now, I brought all of this up to say this, man. It's no wonder why you got the Karenisms running around. There's no reason why you got old boy choking the special needs young brother, because these folks feel deputized and entitled. Now, if I would have just said that instead of taking 15 minutes to display it, you would have called me a conspiracy kook. You'd have called me a nut job. You'd have called me a wacko. You said, oh, you just don't like police. We like police. We like what police have to do for us. But do you know the context and the history behind police? Do you know how police are ingrained into the society? And do you understand the plight and the traverse in this American culture of melanated people and police? Do we know about the night riders
Oh yeah.
and the night deputies of Harriet Tubman's era and what they were paid to do for plantation owners? You know what I'm saying? So, 2 and 2 equals 4 in every way here. And these people feel entitled because throughout their history, they were deputized to feel entitled. Could you imagine how many loose deputized people were made of the Ku Klux Klan in the antebellum South and in the Jim Crow South? Could you imagine? They was probably throwing around deputy. How many times have you watched the show? I know we're going to date each other a little bit, bro. How many times have you watched the show and some sheriff comes along and deputizes some fool out the blue?
And he just so happy. Can I get a gun? No,
Yeah,
you can't get
right.
a gun.
Right. That didn't come from nowhere. That's the history of Buckers do.
Well, remember in Rosewood? What
Yeah.
happened in Rosewood? The one dude,
Yeah.
all he want to do is shoot.
Yep.
And
then,
they
of
were
course,
happy to go and shoot and put holes all through that house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They didn't care whether he was right or wrong. And they knew in their heart, they're like, listen, man, we all done knocked her off, bro.
Right.
But hey, they said we can go shoot some black folks, so we about to go do so.
So we about to go
And
shoot up
that's
some.
it. But remember this too, man, is that, and this goes to some of the stuff what Joe Brown was talking about. It goes into this whole Kanye stuff and some of this entertainment, man. The reality is this: the average white person does not come in contact with the average black person. We still are very, very segregated in America. So what?
D.W. Griffith, Birth of a Nation, Go ahead.
There you go. But and the question then remains: what does white people watch, or what do they read, or what do they hear that puts us in a positive light? If I don't get to run into black folks, but I got cable, what you think I'm looking at?
Exactly.
Love and Hip Hop Atlanta ain't big because black folks watch it. It's big too because white folks watch it.
Right.
They into that craziness too.
Of course.
But they don't look at it as they into craziness. They look at it as, look at them niggers.
Right.
You
Rap,
know?
rap instead of conscious hip hop is big because white girls pay for the rap records.
There you go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And think about look at every major reality show, every major television show. I mean, look at even Tyler Perry shows, even though they're supposed to be like Christian undertones, and it's always a very horrible. I mean, think about the brother on what's that one, A Diary of a Mad Black Woman?
Yep.
Is that the name of the show?
Yep.
That brother was horrible, man.
Yeah.
Even though you had this great redeeming story and all love story and all that's going on, man, that bruh was off his rocker.
Exactly.
Made his money as a crooked lawyer. Now he wants to go straight. And then going straight, he was still an asshole because he took the woman he was married to for all those years and just threw her out the house like a freaking old carpet that got worn out.
Yeah, man.
So now when they see this stuff, and that's all they see, and we don't balance it out, what do you think they're going to think about us when they see us standing in line at Walmart?
Right.
When everybody's screaming, World Star, World Star. What do you think that's doing, man?
Absolutely.
Because World Star was legit events that took place. Legit stupidness.
Yeah, man. The melanated man and woman, our image in macro society is and continues to be in the toilet. In the toilet.
And so people going, and when you're in the toilet, what happens in the toilet? People shit on you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's what happened to that young boy, is he was looked at as a toilet that I can shit on.
Right. D.W.
And
Griffith.
we're going to continue to do that. So are these people being deputized? In their mind, they are.
Right. And even when their stint of being deputized is over, they still feel entitled, which is the whole Ahmaud Arbery piece.
There you go.
I'm gonna run this cat down, and in the name of whatever, goop the goop, I'm gonna put one in him. We gonna take care of this guy.
And I can always get away
in our neighborhood, whatever
exactly.
they titled about.
And I can always get away, even though I attacked him. I can say I was scared for my life.
Yeah,
and that's the tricknology.
Yeah,
let me stalk you like an animal, and then say I was scared. Well, if you were scared, why are you stalking me?
Right.
So and what has happened to our intellectuals is that we get too busy intellectualizing, behavior. Break it down, keep it simple. One of the things that Neely Fuller talks about, if you ain't speaking just about justice and talking about justice, then you're wasting time. Because when you start to engage white people, the conversation is always tacky.
Yeah, man. And you miss Regina Jackson, man. She held them white people's feet to the fire, man. I played a Regina Jackson clip. Go back on, I believe it's on IG. And she talked about, she was holding their feet to the fire about whether or not they can recognize, systemic racism and white supremacy. And
I think I might have seen that one.
And if you don't, would you want to trade places with any melanated person in this country?
Yes, I did see that one.
And she held it down. And that's the definition of a queen. Everybody want to run around with the queen title. When you got works to do. Queen comes with works. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
She held it down. She held their feet.
You got to be able to articulate.
Exactly.
She was not only was she able to articulate, but she gave it to you the way a queen and way a mother can give it to you. Straight, no chaser, and very simple.
And didn't let them wiggle out of the charge. Just like they do with you. When they take you to court, they don't let you wiggle out of their charges. They make you face the charges. She made them face the charges. You know what I mean? And we don't do that enough. We don't do that hardly enough. Hey, man.
We have no economic freedom to do so.
Oh, wow. See, we going there.
We know that if I speak out, this nice cushy job that they done gave me to be the buffer, I'm going to lose it. And God knows I don't know what else to do because I was so busy trying to be living their world that I didn't work towards creating an independent, just world of justice for people who look like us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But there's a remedy to this. I don't want to this ain't about spookism. This ain't about just, loading you up with craziness and not giving you something to walk away with. You can become a constitutional sheriff of your own. It's in the Fifth Amendment. So all you'd have to do is invoke that power when you are dealing with people, and you too can become a constitutional sheriff. And if you see wrong done in the name of this Constitution that they hold so dear, you could call them out and you can arrest them. You can make a citizen's arrest. And you can be a sheriff and be deputized in order to uphold what's right and what's just according to these laws in this country right now in the United States. Don't believe me? Look it up. Fifth Amendment. Check it out. Constitutional sheriff. And there's many, many people that do it. Matter of fact, I'm going to have a show on constitutional rights, how we can be more better armed and know them better, like Terry versus Ohio, like, Dorsey versus the United States, where they talk about articulable suspicion and Terry stops, because of course the Terry stops would most, where they just say, hey, come here, what's your name, where you going, what are you doing? And then we just freeze up and we don't understand how to handle that confrontation. So stay tuned for the next Real HD show. We may not deal with that topic directly, but we will deal with other crucial topics that I'm sure you guys are going to want to know how to deal with, how to make part of your life, how to make functional and solutions for them. For Mozzie, I'm Vic. This is the Real HD show. And we're going to say peace and walk with power. Y'all join us on Wednesday for another episode. Y'all have a good night.
Later.
Peace.